We have on the line Donald Trump Jr. He is President Trump's eldest son. Joins us live now on the line. Mr. Trump, thanks for joining us here on Breitbart News Saturday.
How you doing, Matt? How's everything?
Going well. So you just got off the campaign trail. You and Kimberly Guilfoyle were on the campaign trail in Ohio the other day. Can you tell us about what some of the things you guys did there on the ground were?
Well, we were all over. We were, working on some of the congressional districts as well as, the Senate race for Renacci, DeWine for governor, and, really just pushing all of the things. I mean, these are people that are out there, fighting for us. They're going to help push my father's agenda. They're doing the right thing. They want to keep this winning streak going. When I look at, the opponents, I mean, especially, frankly, DeWine's opponent in the governor's race, I mean, he won't even vote against a bill that would put people who are essentially smuggling and or using and carrying large amounts of fentanyl in prison. Literally, it's like a third offense, and then it's a misdemeanor for, having enough fentanyl to kill 10,000 people. I mean, he won't vote against that bill. So, I mean, these are just cut and dry races. But, again, as you see in some of these areas where you have either purple states or places that we've won, the other side comes along, they pretend they're somewhat conservative for a little bit, but then in the end, they go back and do whatever Chuck Schumer and whatever Nancy Pelosi wants. And I think anyone in those states, they don't want Nancy Pelosi in charge of the House. They don't want her making decisions. They don't want her reversing everything that my father's accomplished, over the last 18 months. So, we got to be out there and we got to be fighting.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, I mean, can you lay out the stakes here for us? If Nancy Pelosi does take control of the Congress, what happens to your father's agenda? What happens to his administration?
Well, listen, they're going to push for impeachment. You've heard them all say it out loud. I mean, what they're impeaching him for, I'm not sure. I mean, are they impeaching him for creating the greatest economy we've seen in decades? Are they are they impeaching him for the best job numbers we've seen in history across every demographic group? I don't know, but the idea is to reverse it. I've said this 100 times, and I believe it to be true. If Donald Trump came out today in favor of oxygen, the left would be against it. They're not talking about, these aren't the Democrats of, 30 years ago where they were, moderate and they were reasonable. I mean, these people are pushing a radical agenda. They don't want to put America or American citizens first. They want to do anything that they can to counter Donald Trump. And it's crazy. It literally makes no sense. And so I want to keep this winning streak going. I'm the father of 5 young kids. I want them to grow up in America that, we still recognize. And that's not what the other side wants.
Yeah, and you know what's really interesting? It's interesting that you mentioned the Democrats are not what they were 30 years ago. So we've seen this rise of these socialist leftists winning these primaries in some of these key districts around the country. Obviously, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, who's just a radical leftist. She wants to abolish immigration and customs enforcement. I don't know how you get away with doing that. But the point is that in another district up in Boston, we saw Ayanna Pressley, another open socialist who wants to abolish ICE, who supports this socialist agenda of Medicare for all and all these other things that don't make any financial sense. And she defeated a longtime Democrat incumbent there. That is the district that John F. Kennedy used to represent. That's the district that Tip O'Neill used to represent. Now it's a socialist who's representing it.
Well, and by the way, the person she displaced, wasn't exactly a moderate Dem either. I mean, he was pretty far left, but to go this much more extreme, and when you talk about Cortez and all the things that she says, I mean, the job numbers are only good because people are working multiple jobs. I mean, you literally can't make up sound bites that stupid. So you have people that are running on these platforms that don't have a fundamental understanding of even what they're talking about, and yet they're winning pretty big in elections, and they're going to be making decisions for you and your family and your kids, and decisions that will impact their future for decades. I mean, it's actually hard to believe, but this is what's going on. So, yeah, this isn't – and I saw this a lot with my father during 2016, where I'd go into some of these, southern districts or areas where, the guys would come up to me and say, if my granddaddy knew that I was voting for a Republican, he'd be rolling over in his grave. And I say, I get that. But if your granddaddy saw what happened to the Democrat Party and what they're voting for now, what would he say? What would he say to you now? And he goes, you know what? You're 100% right. Like, that's why I'm on board. That's why I'm on the Trump train. And, we were able to convert some of those guys because they realized that, hey, jobs are still important. Fighting for law enforcement. I mean, this notion of abolishing ICE is crazy. I mean, ICE saved 900 kids from human trafficking last year alone. I mean, that you want to get rid of that for what? To allow, an open borders policy to let more criminals in here, to bring more drugs across the border? I mean, these are nonsensical policies that the only thing I can think of is that they need it because they want to keep having votes, and so they can dominate that way by letting criminals vote and, bringing in the worst of the worst into our country. It doesn't make logical sense, but it seems to be what they're trying to do, because I can't think of another reason why you'd give the worst of the worst the benefit of the doubt.
So the media, if you listen to the media, the fake news, all the establishment in Washington, D.C., very much like in 2016 when they said your dad had no chance of winning the presidential election. If you listen to the media, they'll tell you over and over again that the Democrats already have it. It's already in the bag. They're going to win the House. They might win the Senate, even though the map basically makes it impossible for them to even have a shot at the Senate. But, facts don't let facts stand in their way. But the point is that lay out for us the pathway forward for Republicans. I think Republicans can do this. I think they can hold the House majority. I think the people got to wake up. They got to fight. They got to fight this battle. But I think there's a pathway forward. Is there hope here?
I think without question, we just got to stay motivated. That's the real problem. Our guys, they're getting everything that they're wanting. My father's going through, his list of promises and checking them off one after the other. So they're sitting back and saying, hey, this is great. They don't realize that Trump's on the ticket in 2018. Okay? They say, I can't wait to vote for Trump again in 2.5 years, or I can't wait to vote for Trump in 2020. Guess what? They got to vote now. All of those policies, all of that winning, that's all on the ticket. So if our guys realize that, if they mobilize and get active, the left is already mobilized. They're out there ready. But if our people turn up, they get involved, they get their friends involved, they speak up, there's no question that we can win this. But we're just fat, happy, and lazy because we're getting everything that we want. The other side is motivated purely by hate, because I can't think of what their platform is. Other than, they're the platform of outrage. Everything they're outraged. They're outraged about this. They're outraged about that. What they should be outraged about is their history of incompetence. What they should be outraged about is their policies oppressing business, pushing jobs out of this country, making taxation so difficult that you really can't even run a business. Same with regulation. All of those things that my fathers eliminated, that's what allowed for this boom. So the biggest joke I've seen in the last 2 years is Obama trying to claim this economy because his policies of overtaxation, oppressive regulation, guess what? That didn't do anything. That drove this country into the ground. That led to the worst recovery in the history of probably economics, but certainly our country's system. Right? So for him running around there and doing this now, there's a reason that on November 9, 2016, all of those matrices shot up like a rocket. And it's because businesses, employers, people realize that you got someone who's actually going to fight for you, not fight for just their special interests, not fight for people in countries that hate our guts, but actually fight for real Americans, their jobs, their companies, their businesses. And that's what happened. And when consumer confidence started going up, the day my father won, because they knew he wasn't going to oppress them, everything started following. And I want to keep that going. That's how we get rid of so many of the problems that we have. That's how we get rid of unfunded pension liability. That's how we get rid of some of our deficits, is by producing. Okay, by having GDP numbers above 4%. Okay, when Obama said you need a magic wand to make that happen. Well, abracadabra, Obama, we're doing it. It's happening right now, and it's happening time and time again, and it will continue unless we lose this House. If we lose the House, they'll make it impossible. You'll see a 2-year stalemate when nothing gets done. They'll continue to phony witch hunts. They'll do everything possible to make it very difficult for my father to succeed. And guess what? They've been doing that for 2 years anyway. Okay, and he's still doing it. He's still winning. But they'll make it that much more difficult when they have control and they have the ability to play the nonsense games that they play. Because, again, they play the game differently than we do. They don't play by the same rules. They don't have moral compass. They don't do anything. They do whatever they can. And maybe we should be playing the game that way, too, but we haven't historically.
Mm-hmm. So you mentioned Obama a couple times there. Obviously, he's been out there very aggressively on the campaign trail for Democrats. It kind of came back from the shadows since he's been out of office. What are your thoughts on Obama being out there? I think it's a good thing because it provides a clear contrast between what we had before and what we have now.
I think without question, I think he's our best salesman because no one with a brain actually believes that he did anything good for our economy or for our foreign policy. No, everyone saw that anything that he did basically put America at risk and made us weaker. Every time he drew a red line, other countries walked all over it. Okay, he did it again. They walked all over it. Guess what? Countries, whether it's foreign policy-wise, whether it's business-wise, they realize that you have someone that actually cares about America in there, that's actually doing it, not someone who's going to make us look weak, where you can walk all over us, because that's the precedent that he set. And there's a new sheriff in town. We've changed all that.
Yeah, so the other one who's kind of back out there a little bit, she still hasn't done any public events or anything, but Hillary Clinton is likely to do a number of Democrat National Committee fundraisers, which I think is fantastic. Let's have Hillary Clinton out there as much as possible.
By the way, that's the other one. I'd love her to be out there. The more she's out there, the better it is for us, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm. And so, in the big picture here, just to kind of wrap things up, where do you think what do you think the Republican base out there needs to do? The folks that are listening to Breitbart Radio, the folks that show up at Trump rallies, what do they need to do to win this war in 2018? To win these major battles in these key congressional races?
Listen, they need to show up. They need to go vote. They need to get their friends. If everyone picked up a phone and called 100 of their friends, posted on Facebook, get your friends out, mobilize. Let them realize, because that, like I said earlier, they don't even realize that Trump is de facto on the ticket in 2018. They love Trump. They'll vote for him 100 times. They'll do anything for Trump, but they don't know what their congressman's name is. That's not good. That's not right. They need to get out there. They need to stay motivated. They need to make sure that we have people in Congress and the Senate and the governor's houses that are going to back this pro-America, pro-growth, pro-business agenda. That's what's going on right now. But if they stay involved, if they get out there, of all the people that whisper to me, like, you guys are doing a great job, I can't believe what's going on, it's so incredible. If all of those people get out there, if all of those people bring their friends, stay active, stay in the game, keep fighting, just like the other side is, we can win this, and we can keep it going.
All right. Well, Donald Trump Jr., thank you so much, sir, for joining us here on Breitbart News Saturday.
Thank you very much, Matt. Have a great weekend.